Chapter 1951. At 7:30 p.m., Jiang Yandong returned to the villa. When he walked in, he saw that there were many people in the villa. He instinctively looked inside and saw that Madame Chen was sitting with Tang Gua at the side. They were having fun, which made him heave a sigh of relief. He walked quickly to Tang Gua. Before he was in front of her, he heard Tang Gua's voice. "Is Brother Yandong back?" "Yes." Jiang Yandong replied. He was already used to it. Every time, before he even walked up to her, she would recognize him. Previously, he had asked her how she was able to accurately recognize that he had returned every time. Sometimes, he would bring a few companions back, but as long as he walked up to her, she would always be able to tell that it was him. She said, "It's easier to hear the world when you can't see. To tell who a person is, you only need to listen carefully. Listen to the frequency of his footsteps. It's like musical notes. Every person's footsteps are a musical score. The notes are different." She said that she had already memorized the sound of his footsteps. Even in a noisy crowd, when his footsteps rang out, she could instantly tell where he was going. At that time, he even smiled and said, "What if I don't make any footsteps? I still have a nose. As long as Brother Yandong is willing to walk up to me, I can sniff out your scent." She wasn't exaggerating. She could really do it. He had already sprayed a few scented perfumes on himself. When he did this experiment with his companions, she could indeed tell him apart easily. He asked, "Why is that?" At that time, she had answered, "Because I care a lot about Brother Yandong. Since I was young, I have always remembered Brother Yandong in my heart. Any man would be unable to resist a girl like her. Even if he didn't have the urge to fall in love with her as he had imagined, it was because when she talked about him, the smile on her face seemed to add a ray of light to her. He knew that she couldn't see him, but he always felt that she could see him when she talked about him. Because of a little liking, a little touched, and a lot of guilt, he promised in front of the two families that he would take care of her for the rest of her life. In order to make them believe that she would not be trapped in a world of darkness forever, he resolutely proposed to get engaged to her after she turned 18. On the day of their engagement, she was very happy and he was very satisfied. He thought that perhaps they would continue like this forever. When he came back from the competition, he would see her waiting at the door and tell her what happened during the competition. After he got the trophy, he had to bring it back for her to touch. This was an honor that belonged to both of them. When he received his bonus, he would definitely buy her her favorite things. After he retired, they should be able to live a peaceful and warm life. Even if there wasn't any passion or love, he didn't feel any regret. "Have you eaten?" Tang Gua asked. She didn't disturb Jiang Yandong just now. He went to recall some things. At this time, when he recalled some beautiful memories, he could still live a relaxed life. After a while, he wouldn't be able to. In the future, Jiang Yandong would definitely miss these peaceful and quiet days. Jiang Yandong nodded. "I've already eaten." "Xiaogua, have you eaten?" "Yes, but I asked Madame Chen to leave some food for Brother Yandong. If you're hungry, you can eat some." Peek. Chapter 1952. Jiang Yandong nodded and said, "Okay." He looked at the workers who were installing something on the wall and asked, "What are they doing?" "I haven't been sleeping well for the past 2 days. I keep hearing strange noises. I heard on the news that thieves have been rampant recently. Brother Yandong is too busy and can't be at home every day, so I asked people to strengthen the defense of the villa. If there really are thieves, we can guard against them." Jiang Yandong didn't suspect anything else. These two villas weren't located in a bustling villa district. The location was indeed too quiet. The previous defense was indeed not enough to stop thieves who wanted to enter. Then you must let them do it properly. Xiaogua always has his phone in his hand. If there's anything strange, you must call the police first. "I know," Tang Guo replied with a smile. Jiang Yandong looked at the sky outside. Night had just fallen and the sky was still red. This was the best time to go for a walk after dinner. Although he still planned to go back to his room to practice the game, he still asked, "Do you want to go for a walk? Brother Yandong seems to be busy." "You go ahead. I won't be going today." "I don't want to go either." They repeated this almost every day. Tang Guo didn't want to change the way they interacted. Ever since she came to this world and read the storyline, she had already eliminated Jiang Yandong as her fiancé. He wasn't qualified. The original owner was afraid of delaying his work, but she purely didn't want to go for a walk with Jiang Yandong. She would feel uncomfortable going for a walk with a scumbag. Actually, Jiang Yandong really didn't want to go for a walk. Perhaps he knew that even if he asked Tang Guo if she wanted to go, she would say no. However, hearing her say that she wasn't going was different from going straight up to practice the game without asking. Tang Guo understood his heart. If he asked her and she said no, he would feel less guilty and go up to practice the game with a clear conscience. If he didn't ask and went up directly, he would feel bad. At the time of the accident, Jiang Yandong was not even 16 years old. He was still a minor, but he was already burdened with a debt to someone. Right now, he was only 19 years old. His life had just begun. Even if he said that he didn't yearn for passion and love, it was actually because he hadn't encountered it yet. Once they met, the peace between them would be broken. With Jiang Yandong's current status, even if Xiao Yan didn't break into the villa and get to know him, someone else would have walked into his life. Because he only liked the original owner a little, but more than that, he felt guilty. When he had someone he truly liked, he would feel that everything was a burden. The original owner's care, affection, and understanding were all burdens to him. "Then I'll go to my room first." "Okay, Brother Yandong, don't be too tired. You must remember to sleep before 11 o'clock." "I know." Jiang Yandong turned around. Even though he had been in this industry for many years, every time he touched a game, his blood would boil. People who didn't like games couldn't understand how much he loved it. It was more important than his life. Tang Guo listened to his brisk footsteps and smiled. She said to the construction workers, "I'll have to trouble you. The defense must be set up well. Make sure to catch the thief and make sure he can't escape. This kind of thief who trespasses on private property must be caught and sent to the police to teach him a lesson. Miss Tang, don't worry. The defense we're setting up for you this time is the most advanced." Chapter 1953. To ensure that the thief can enter but not leave. This defense system is specially designed to catch thieves. Of course, you can also activate this function the moment the thief enters. It took the security company 3 days to complete this defense system. It was basically a fully intelligent system. Even Tang Guo, who could not see, could use it. After they taught Tang Guo how to use it, they even tested it once. She was very satisfied with the results. Now, she just needed to wait for Xiao Yan to come here to steal things. But before that, she wanted to see what was going on with the NN and the group of people with special abilities in this world. The system had already observed this matter. Because of the rapid development of technology in this world, those people with special abilities were not ordinary people. They were not gods and could not fight against the powerful technology. They had no choice but to hide their identity and hide in the crowd as ordinary people. But no one wanted to waste their abilities like this. So, the NN of the people with special abilities was created to gather people from all over the world. Later, some ordinary people mixed in and issued some tasks. Gradually, it evolved to the present day. But, dear host, from my observation, most of the people with special abilities who mix in the NN are younger. The older ones were less involved in this. With their prideful identities, they disdain to do such sneaky things. But they do not restrict their younger generations from doing those things. Perhaps in their eyes, these things are harmless and can even be used to train their skills. Is that so? Then what do they usually do? What are their identities? Tang Guo found a more comfortable position on the sofa and leaned on it. For example, if they were mocked by their classmates in school during the day, they might climb into their classmates' house at night and steal their homework or puncture their bicycle tires. If they were too angry, they might even put a gunny sack over their classmate and beat him up. Some of them were office workers. In the day, they were scolded by their superiors in the company. At night, they would think of ways to teach their superiors a lesson. He didn't do anything. He just took advantage of the night to sneak into the company and tampered with his boss's chair. The next day, the boss sat down and broke the chair. He fell and fell. In the end, he fell in the wrong position and even went to the hospital. Currently, the people in the company were whispering that the boss was usually too unfriendly, sharp-tongued, and harsh, so he got retribution. As for the person who did this, he was hiding in a corner, hiding his achievements and fame, not revealing the slightest bit of abnormality. In short, those who provoked them would not have a good ending. That's right, I was in one of their secret chat groups, and I overheard them discussing something. There was a high school student who practiced martial arts. Because he talked to someone in class, he was called out by the disciplinary committee member who had good grades. In the end, he was criticized by the teacher in class. He bore a grudge in his heart. When the other party was taking the exam, while the other party wasn't paying attention, he touched the other party's pencil case and shattered all of the other party's pens. Anyway, it was basically the same thing. If someone provoked them, they would find some trouble for the other party. There are so many of these things. Does no one suspect anything? Chapter 1954. Everything seemed like an accident. How could ordinary people think so much? Who knew that someone would do such a boring thing in the middle of the night? I'm guessing that they didn't dare to do anything big because they were afraid of attracting the attention of the relevant departments. At that time, it would bring them a lot of trouble. The system saw that Tang Guo was deep in thought and didn't say anything else. There were actually many such things, too many to count. But those who didn't know would think that their unlucky encounter was just an accident. They didn't know that they were just careless and had a conflict with someone, and they would encounter some unlucky things. Those capable people weren't all narrow-minded. Those who weren't narrow-minded didn't like to stick their heads out and quietly live their own lives. Those who stuck their heads out liked to stand on high and tease people. The posts in the MNN were mostly the kind of posts that people took revenge on those who offended them. There were actually very few ordinary people in the MNN. If they knew about such a place and confirmed it was real, they would probably think of ways to contact those capable people and become friends with them to gain benefits. Who would spread the news? The MNN site wasn't a domestic site, so they couldn't control it. It was just a small matter and wouldn't attract much attention. Host, do you want to enter the MNN to take a look? I'm not looking. Help me keep an eye on it, especially if there's any news in their private group. If they're going to do something big, you can let me know. She couldn't control the small matters, but didn't anyone care about the big ones? Just because they had some ability, they could mess with people as they wished. It was just a dispute of words, but they had to trick people and send them to the hospital, destroy people's lives, and stand on high and see everyone as cannon fodder. She didn't like this feeling. Host, their group is very lively again. Let me see. Tang Guo's consciousness sank into the system space. In front of her was the system's screen. On the screen were the chat messages in the group. She looked at the number of people in the group. There were as many as 1,000 people. Is it really the biggest luminous pearl? Yes, the news is confirmed. Hey, aren't you guys interested in seeing it first? If anyone dares, go take a picture and send it to the group. Whoever dares, I'll acknowledge him as my grandfather. Don't be confused. That thing isn't something we can touch. Although it's currently in private possession, it's under the protection of the country. Who knows, one day, they might not want to keep it anymore and just give it away. If they notice us, we'll be in big trouble. That's right. Those weapons aren't to be trifled with. If we lose our lives, it'll be too late for regrets. I just secretly went to take a few photos. They've been hyping it up so much, and they've even decided to hold an exhibition next month. If we release the photos in advance and give everyone a surprise, it's not a big deal. I'm not going. I'm not a master thief. I only know some martial arts. I can't do that. I'm not going either. I definitely won't go. My dad said that if I dare to touch that kind of thing, he'll break my legs when I get back. It's better not to do this kind of thing. Is there anyone from the Shao clan here? Aren't you a family of godly thieves? Aren't you interested in the biggest luminous pearl? Of course, no one answered in the end. Obviously, everyone in the group was interested in the luminous pearl, but in the end, no one dared to touch it. Tang Guo remembered that there was a scene in the story that was related to this luminous pearl. Chapter 1955. Is it the biggest night luminescent pearl that was lost in the plot? Yes, it was lost overseas in the end and caused a huge commotion. Oh, so someone must have set their eyes on the night luminescent pearl and stole it and sent it overseas. I guess they must have made a lot of profit from this. The plot did not mention who took the night luminescent pearl. No matter who took it, since she had seen it, she would mind her own business. Although she could not see it with her eyes, she wanted to see what the biggest night luminescent pearl looked like through the system space. Everyone liked beautiful things, so they should be protected. Tongzi, help me find out where the night luminescent pearl is and keep an eye on the security system. If there are any abnormalities, help them and protect the night luminescent pearl. Don't let anyone steal it. Don't worry, Master Host. He knew that Tang Guo would do this when he let her read the message. Actually, both of them had a guess. The person who could break through the layers of security and obtain the biggest night luminescent pearl was most likely the Shao family. Since it was the Shao family, they had to stop it. Stealing was not good, especially when it was a national treasure. How could they let it be stolen? Before long, the system told Tang Guo that it had found the location of the night luminescent pearl. It was being secretly sent to the city for the exhibition next month. Because of the fear of being stolen, the night luminescent pearl was well protected and it was transported in a confusing way. But there was no guarantee that the night luminescent pearl would not be lost. After all, this was a world where there were capable people. The system told Tang Guo that it had controlled all the systems to ensure that the other party would be discovered as soon as they entered. There was still more than a week before Xiao Yan came to the villa. Tang Guo did not go anywhere and stayed in the villa every day. When she was hungry, she ate. When she was free, she listened to music. Although she could not see, the system would tell her what it saw in the NPC. Grandpa, you're so well prepared. Is the mission dangerous? It's not dangerous. It's just that the item this time is very important. The security measures will be stricter than before. If we don't prepare more, won't we become a joke in the circle if we fail? Xiao Yan pursed her lips and asked, then what are we stealing? Night luminescent pearl, Xiao Yan should have heard of it. Next month, the city will be exhibiting the biggest night luminescent pearl to the world, right? Xiao Yan's eyes widened and she said in surprise, it's actually that one. Who gave you the mission? A friend of mine overseas. Originally, I didn't do this. But he had something I was interested in, so he agreed. Xiao Yan frowned and asked, is Grandpa's friend from our country? Yes. That's good. It's not good for such things to fall into the hands of foreigners. Don't worry, I know him very well. Grandpa and that friend have known each other for a lifetime. I know what kind of person he is. Moreover, according to the evidence he presented, this night luminescent pearl originally belonged to his ancestor. He was just returning it to its rightful owner. In the hands of those businessmen who reek of money, this thing can only be put on an exhibition to scam the public. Then Grandpa, you have to be careful. The security measures are getting better and better. It's getting harder to steal things. Chapter 1956. After Xiao Lian's grandfather left, Xiao Lian thought that her grandfather was going to steal that huge luminous pearl. She felt a little tempted. She had learned so much from her grandfather, but she was born in a peaceful era in a country with very good security. She had to prepare a lot to steal something small. But she did not give up. She would often accept some tasks in the group. Apart from her identity as the successor of the master thief of the Xiao group, she was just an ordinary high school girl who loved esports. This time, when she was casually chatting, a task appeared in front of her. Steal the personal belongings of the esports genius, Jiang Yandong. Clothes, shoes, and socks. Xiao Lian could not take her eyes off this task. Jiang Yandong was also a male idol she was a fan of. She had been paying attention to him since he appeared. Usually, she did not care about these small tasks, but this task was about Jiang Yandong. It also said that as long as she accepted the task, she would be given Jiang Yandong's address. For a moment, Xiao Lian wanted to see the difference between the real Jiang Yandong and the Jiang Yandong on the screen. For some reason, she accepted this mission. Soon, she received Jiang Yandong's address and came back to her senses. Although she felt that she was a little impulsive, when she thought that it was Jiang Yandong, she gritted her teeth and decided to take some time to steal 2 pieces of clothes. She was not going to do anything bad. She was just going to take 2 pieces of clothes that Jiang Yandong did not wear. He should not find out, right? She did not know who had such a special hobby. 100,000 yuan for 1 piece. The price was really high. The day finally came. Jiang Yandong came back very early, just like in the plot. Tang Guo was sitting on the sofa, listening to the sound of the TV. When she heard Jiang Yandong enter the room, she stopped him. Brother Yandong. What's wrong, Xiaoguo? It's not dark yet, right? Not yet. Then, Brother Yandong, can you accompany me for a walk? Jiang Yandong was a little surprised by this, but he still nodded. This was the first time Tang Guo had taken the initiative to ask him to accompany her for a walk. He had no reason to refuse. He quickly put down the things and helped her out of the villa. Tang Guo did this just to buy time. Otherwise, when the sky turned dark, Jiang Yandong would go into the bathroom to take a shower after playing the game. She had already made up her mind to wait until dark before going back. When Xiao Lian came in to steal things, she would get Jiang Yandong to her room so that they wouldn't get to know each other through fighting. Otherwise, if the 2 of them developed feelings for each other after fighting, how could she call the police? She believed that no matter how she tried to stop it, the male and female leads would still have sparks between them. She didn't need to care about this. Right now, she only wanted to send the thief to the police station for tea. When the sky turned dark, Tang Guo asked Jiang Yandong to bring her back. Jiang Yandong went back to his room to play the game for a while. When he was about to take a shower, there was a knock on the door again. Brother Yandong, come over and help me take a look. There seems to be something wrong with the tap in my bathroom. Jiang Yandong looked at Tang Guo's wet face and quickly stood up. What's the matter? I don't know either. I heard a loud sound of water. Maybe the tap exploded. I'll help you take a look. It was already 10:30 at night. Tang Guo heard Jiang Yandong's footsteps coming to the bathroom in her room. She turned and walked out of the room, closing the door behind her. Tongzi, break the electronic lock on my door. Don't let him come out when he hears the noise. Understood, host. Host, she's here. Chapter 1957. Jiang Yandong was in the bathroom of Tang Guo's room, helping Tang Guo check the faucet. Suddenly, he heard a knock on the door. He walked out of the bathroom and found that the door was closed. He walked over and said, "What's wrong?" Brother Yen Dong, the electronic lock seems to be malfunctioning. Just now, I was going downstairs to get a glass of water and accidentally closed the door. Is that so? Jiang Yandong tried and found that there was no way to open it. He tried other methods, but there was no way to open it. Finally, he determined that there was indeed a malfunction in the electronic lock. In the middle of the night, the faucet exploded and the electronic lock on the door was broken. It was really bad luck. Brother Yen Dong, I've already reported it. Ask the people over there to hurry over and help me take a look. You should help me take a look at the faucet first. If it doesn't work, turn off the faucet temporarily and wait until tomorrow morning to get someone to deal with it. Regarding the door lock, they had to deal with it today. After all, they couldn't keep Jiang Yandong locked in the room forever, right? Because Tang Guo couldn't see, the two families were worried about the windows in the room. They were afraid that she would accidentally fall out of the window. Therefore, the window in Tang Guo's room was different from the windows in other rooms. It was installed with a guardrail. Even if Jiang Yandong wanted to go out through the window, he couldn't. He could only wait in the room and let someone take care of it. It's okay. I'll help you take a look at the faucet first. Tang Guo and Jiang Yandong said goodbye and went downstairs. She went to the living room and took an apple. Then, she picked up a knife and slowly peeled the apple by touch. Although she couldn't see, it was easy for her to peel an apple as she was familiar with it. This was a relatively remote place. It would take at least 40 minutes for the staff to rush over to repair the electronic lock. Because of the delay, it was almost 11 o'clock now. At 11:30, Xiao Yan should be here soon. After she subdued Xiao Yan, the staff who repaired the electronic lock should be here soon, right? One more person meant one more helper, right? System, yes, you're right. At about 11:30 p.m., Tang Guo heard some movement from the living room. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. When Xiao Yan gently flipped into the living room, she rolled on the ground and hid in the corner. She was shocked when she saw a person sitting on the sofa under the dim light. However, the other party did not seem to have noticed her. She suddenly remembered that there was a rumor that Jiang Yandong had a fiancé who could not see. Could it be that the girl sitting on the sofa was one of them? He didn't look old, about the same age as her. She was very thin and weak. Her skin was very white, and her appearance was very tender. She was quite good-looking, but unfortunately, she was blind. She tiptoed over and wandered around Tang Guo. When she realized that Tang Guo really couldn't see her, she let out a sigh of relief. She really couldn't see. She was really scared to death. Although Tang Guo couldn't see, she could feel that someone was wandering around in front of her. If it weren't for the fact that the other party hadn't stolen anything yet, she really wanted to pick up the blind guiding stick that had the function of a stun baton and beat the other party up. Xiao Yan looked at the apple that Tang Guo had peeled. She had cut it into small pieces and put it on the fruit plate. She didn't know what she was thinking, but she took a few pieces and went upstairs to eat in front of Tang Guo. Chapter 1958. Host, she ate the apple you peeled. She even ate a few pieces. The system said angrily. This thief did not even let go of the apple that the host had peeled. She was indeed a family of thieves. She stole everything. Did she feel good about bullying a blind person? Yes, a blind person would not be able to see what she had done. It looked like a small prank, but it was actually a bad one. It's okay. I'll make her spit it out later. Tang Guo said calmly. She had already picked up the blind guide stick and was waiting for Xiao Yan to come out of Jiang Yandong's room. She did not know what Xiao Yan would steal this time around if Jiang Yandong did not stop her. It would be best if she stole something valuable. If it was valuable, she could file a case and sue her. By then, she would have to squat in jail or suffer some other punishment. She did not know. But she was the female lead after all. Before the halo disappeared, it would not be so easy to squat in jail. At this moment, Xiao Yan was indeed strolling around Jiang Yandong's room openly. She first saw Jiang Yandong's trophies and was almost blinded by them. Then, she saw Jiang Yandong's handsome photos, especially the photos of him wearing the battle uniform. He was really charming. Looking at Jiang Yandong's big bed, she even lay down on it and said that it was so comfortable. After rummaging around the room for a long time, she did not take anything valuable. She was born in a family of thieves and did not lack food and clothing since she was young. So, the things she took were all Jiang Yandong's personal accessories. As for socks, she was not interested in taking them. It was just some belts, keychains, small pendants, and some inconspicuous things that were piled in the corner. Of course, she could not help but take photos of various places in the room with her phone. Especially the photos of Jiang Yandong. She took all of them. The only pity was that she realized that Jiang Yandong did not seem to be in the room. Thinking that there were still people in this villa, Xiao Yan didn't dare to stay for long, afraid that she would be discovered. After all, when she came in, she found that the villa's security was very good. Fortunately, she was good at fighting. If it was someone else, they might have been discovered before they even came in. She sneaked downstairs and found that Tang Guo was still sitting on the sofa, peeling an apple. Xiao Yan's mind came up with a possibility. Were those small pieces of apples prepared for Jiang Yandong? For some reason, she walked over to Tang Guo, intending to take 2 more pieces. Perhaps it was because Jiang Yandong was one of her fans, but now that she was facing his fiancé, she felt a little jealous. She didn't expect that when she walked over, she would bump into something and fall down, knocking over the fruit platter. Brother Yandong. Hearing Tang Guo's voice, Xiao Yan did not even dare to breathe. She looked very annoyed. She quickly got up and climbed out. If you're not Brother Yandong, who are you? Hearing the voice behind Tang Guo, Xiao Yan did not dare to stay any longer. She ran out quickly and climbed over the wall. It's a thief. Catch the thief. Tang Guo's blind guide rod not only had the effect of a stun baton, but it also had a button that could activate the villa's security. She pressed it hard and activated the security program. Xiao Yan originally thought that with his skills, he would be able to dodge those seemingly dense lightning bolts. Chapter 1959. She didn't expect that the moment she touched the wall, which didn't seem to have anything on it, her entire arm would be instantly paralyzed. She felt that something was wrong. Instinctively, she switched to her other arm. That arm was also paralyzed. Her eyes widened. Just as she was about to fall, she used her ultimate move. She lowered her head forcefully and bit a button on her body. In an instant, a long straight line flew from her shoulder to the wall. As long as the hook was attached, she could use this force to jump out. When Tang Guo came out, Xiao Yan's arms were hanging by her side. There was a thin long line on her shoulder. She didn't know how it was made, but it probably didn't conduct electricity. Xiao Yan was using all his strength to use the force of this long line to jump out anxiously. Because she knew that she couldn't touch the wall, it was very difficult for her to move. Her arms were still paralyzed. She definitely didn't dare to use the wall for her legs. Tang Guo had already reached the wall. When Xiao Yan saw her, she didn't even dare to breathe loudly. In the end, she saw that Tang Guo was calling the police on her cell phone, saying that there was a thief in the house and asking people to come quickly. On the other hand, she was waving a blind guiding stick around. Seeing that Tang Guo was getting closer and closer, Xiao Yan's eyes were filled with despair. However, Tang Guo couldn't see. She tried to walk slowly. Step by step, she walked over. It was as if she was walking on top of Xiao Yan's heart. Looking at the long blind guiding stick, she was about to cry. Don't come over again. She had tried so many times before, but she didn't fail. Who knew that this small villa had such a terrifying defense? If she had known, she would have prepared well and come again. Especially when she heard that Tang Guo was still calling the police, Xiao Yan was extremely anxious. She moved forcefully and made some noise. Then she looked at Tang Guo, who seemed to be smiling, and walked in her direction. She knew that a blind person's ears were very sensitive, but she didn't expect them to be so sensitive. Xiao Guo, what's wrong? Jiang Yandong's voice came from upstairs. Tang Guo's room just happened to be able to see Tang Guo's current direction. Jiang Yandong also heard the movement and only then did he realize that something was wrong. Brother Yandong, it seems like a thief has broken into our house. Can you see this from where you are now? Has the thief been subdued? Jiang Yandong looked down and saw a dark figure hanging on the wall. He said anxiously, there seems to be someone hanging on the wall. Xiao Guo, come back in and call the police. To be able to pass through the defense and enter, the person's skills were definitely not simple. Jiang Yandong said these words subconsciously. After all, he didn't know Xiao Yan at this time, so he naturally wouldn't stand on her side. In his eyes, thieves were also very detestable. Jiang Yandong tried to pull on the guardrail of the window, but it couldn't be opened. He turned around to open the door, but it still couldn't be opened. He had no choice but to walk to the window again to see if Tang Guo had entered the house. Then, he saw Tang Guo hit Xiao Yan's leg with the baton. She activated the stun baton's function, and Xiao Yan was electrocuted until she lost all strength. The long wire was also inadvertently cut by Tang Guo. Naturally, Xiao Yan, whose whole body was paralyzed, fell to the ground with a thud. She cried out in pain, and tears almost fell from her eyes. Especially when Tang Guo tapped her body lightly with the baton. Xiao Yan really didn't have any strength to resist. Even if she was a master thief and had some skills, she was still made of flesh and blood. Miss Xiao Guo. Madam Chen's voice came from outside. Chapter 1960. Madam Chen. Tang Guo held her cane and turned towards the entrance of the villa. Hearing the footsteps of Madam Chen and another person, she asked, Madam Chen, why are you here? Who else is there? Miss Tang, I'm here to help you fix the electronic lock. Earlier, you called my company and needed it fixed urgently. When I got out of the car, I met Madam Chen. She looked very anxious. What happened? Madam Chen quickly walked in front of Tang Guo and checked her. Seeing that she was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. Young Master Yan Dong called me and said that there was a thief here. Because of the dim lighting, the two of them did not notice Xiao Yan lying motionless on the ground. Hearing the sirens around the villa, they knew that something bad had happened. There was a thief, Tang Guo replied. Madam Chen hurriedly pulled Tang Guo back into the house and turned on all the lights outside. The worker in charge of fixing the electronic lock immediately noticed Xiao Yan, who was dressed in black, lying on the ground. He shouted, there was a thief, but he seems to have been subdued. Miss Tang, have you called the police? I've already called the police. Someone should be here soon, Tang Guo replied and even asked Madam Chen to pour a glass of water for him. This worker had always been in charge of all the electronic locks in the villa. Seeing that there was a thief, he did not fix the locks for the time being. Instead, he was very eager to help Tang Guo tie up the thief. He asked Madam Chen for a rope and tied up Xiao Yan, who was lying on the ground and unable to resist. The rope was long and his tying technique was tricky. Even if Xiao Yan was not paralyzed, she would not be able to break free in a short time. Dear host, now Xiao Yan had been tied up like a big rice dumpling by this very responsible worker. Jiang Yandong's originally serious expression also relaxed. He stood by the window and looked at the black and somewhat petite person who was tied up. He even said, you have to tie her up tightly. Don't let her escape. It's already so late. Sorry to trouble you. Young Master Yan Dong, don't worry. I specially learned how to tie up ropes. This worker was very confident in his own technique. Then, can I trouble you to go up and check the electronic lock for me? It's almost midnight. Although tomorrow is the weekend, Brother Yen Dong still has to wake up early to train at the club. He must rest well, or his body will not be able to take it. Okay, Miss Tang. I'll go up and check it for you. Madam Chen and the staff member knew very well that the blind Miss Tang was devoted to her fiancé and cared for him in every possible way. With the help of the worker, the electronic lock quickly. Jiang Yandong was finally able to come out. He walked into the living room and saw Tang Guo sitting on the sofa. Madam Chen was helping to clean up the fruit platter on the floor. What a pity. I wanted to give it to Brother Yen Dong, but it was knocked over by a thief, Tang Guo said. Jiang Yandong walked up to comfort her. It's okay. I appreciate Xiaoguo's kindness. I'll go and see who the thief is. Why would he come to the villa in the middle of the night to steal things? Tang Guo grabbed Jiang Yandong's sleeve. Let's go together. Jiang Yandong did not object. Tang Guo also did not stop him from going to see Xiao Yan. Of course, she wanted Jiang Yandong to get to know Xiao Yan first. Chapter 1961. The male and female leads were destined to be enemies. First, they would be enemies. Once they had a scene where you hate me and I hate you, it would be easier for them to develop. Later on, hate would slowly turn into love. This was how it was written, and how it was acted in TV dramas. Perhaps in the future, when the two of them were hugging in a corner, Jiang Yandong would say to Xiao Yan affectionately, "It doesn't make sense for me to like you. I also think that you're cute when you steal. If you like to steal, then go ahead. I'll pay for it. Which house do you want to steal from? I'll buy that place for you to steal from." The system listened to Tang Guo reading these lines to it, and its whole body felt a little uncomfortable. He seriously doubted that the two of them would be so sweet because of the host's intervention. Tang Guo accompanied Jiang Yandong outside. Under the bright lights, Xiao Yan's mask was roughly pulled off by Madam Chen. She was tied up like a dumpling. Being stared at by a few people, she was extremely embarrassed. Especially since Jiang Yandong was her esports idol. Although the two of them didn't know each other, she still felt very uncomfortable. Madam Chen didn't use force. She had been working here for a long time and had lived for most of her life. Even if the other party was a thief, if something happened to her, it would only cause more trouble for Miss Xiaoguo. Now that she had subdued the thief, she just had to wait for the police to come and present some evidence. If she hit someone and used force, then there would be no reason to speak of. Especially when she saw that the thief was a young girl. Madam Chen's expression turned ugly. She couldn't help but say, "Being a thief at such a young age, don't your parents care? Breaking into someone's house and stealing, which one of these isn't illegal? If you do something serious in the future, your life will be ruined." This Madam Chen usually liked to read social news when she had nothing to do. Moreover, she had a pair of children who were about the same age as Tang Guo. Every time she saw those teenagers commit crimes and ruin their lives, she couldn't help but mutter a few words. She often said that children should be watched carefully and taught well. She couldn't let the child do something that they would regret for the rest of their lives. Otherwise, she would also regret it for the rest of her life. So when she saw Xiao Yan, she couldn't help but say this. Xiao Yan was not convinced after being reprimanded. She was from a family of godly thieves and usually didn't do anything bad. She just came to take two small things. Was it worth it to make such a big fuss? Brother Yen Dong, who is the thief? Jiang Yandong frowned as he looked at Xiao Yan's fair little face and said, "It's a little girl about the same age as Xiao Guo." "Oh, what did she steal?" Jiang Yandong glanced at the bag that had rolled to the side. "Let's wait for the police to come over and take a look. If we touch it, it's easy to erase her fingerprints." Jiang Yandong glanced coldly at Xiao Yan, making her feel cold. Tang Guo smiled and said, Brother Yan Dong is really thoughtful. No matter who it is, they should be punished if they make a mistake. If after this incident, she can repent, that's good. Yeah, at such a young age, learning to steal things is really bad. Madam Chen chimed in. Xiao Yan's eyes were red. First, she felt humiliated, and second, she felt embarrassed. Being stared at like this, being caught red-handed, she really couldn't stand it. Not long after, the alarm sounded. Chapter 1962. Yeah, that's what happened. I didn't expect that a thief would really break in. Luckily, I didn't feel safe before, so I got people to strengthen the villa's defenses. Tang Guo smiled and said, anything else? Is there anything else you want to ask? Oh yeah, what did she steal? Some accessories, belts, and accessories. The police officers helped to check. They even went to the crime scene and took Xiao Yan's fingerprints. They also found 2 strands of hair on Jiang Yandong's mattress. Jiang Yandong looked at the 2 strands of hair in the transparent bag and thought about how his bed had been taken by a thief. He looked like he was about to break down. Xiao Yan saw that Jiang Yandong was looking at her with a cold gaze. It was as if a knife was going to peel off a layer of her skin. She felt a chill all over her body. She looked at the police officers who were so professional as they carefully checked every spot where she had committed the crime. Her neck was also a little cold. Although the things she had stolen weren't worth much, it was still illegal to break into a private house and steal things. The scariest thing was that she had been caught red-handed. Now, what she wanted the most was to be taken away quickly so that her grandfather could use his connections to get her out. She didn't want to stay in Jiang Yandong's house for a moment longer. Perhaps they had heard Xiao Yan's thoughts, because she was finally taken away after 20 minutes. There was no way she could escape. Her face had been seen and her fingerprints had been taken. She was a high school student in the day. If she didn't want to make a big fuss and become a target of scorn, she could only follow obediently. Because the things Xiao Yan had stolen weren't worth much. So the final punishment was a fine and detention. Just these 2 points alone were enough to make Xiao Yan feel terrible. After all, this incident had already left a criminal record and was a stain on her record. When Tang Guo found out that Xiao Yan had been taken out in less than 2 days, she wasn't disappointed at all. There was still a long way to go. This was just an appetizer. What was the hurry? Now, she was waiting for the big one. Xiao Yan's grandfather would probably make a move on the biggest night luminescent pearl, right? The person who was able to get Xiao Yan out so easily was most likely someone entrusted to him by Xiao Yan's grandfather. What if Xiao Yan's grandfather failed to steal the night luminescent pearl and got caught? Not only that, if the theft that Xiao Yan's grandfather had done was exposed and evidence was presented, would there really be anyone who would bail him out? On this day, Jiang Yandong had a competition. After staying at home for a long time and teaching Xiao Yan's Tang Guo a lesson, she felt a little bored and decided to go to the competition site to listen to what the competition was like. She was too lazy to be a blind person who didn't do anything. She was also a little bored. She didn't tell Jiang Yandong about this. She wasn't the original owner who was infatuated with Jiang Yandong, so there was no need to tell him everything. She had asked Madame Chen to book the tickets for her in advance. Outside the competition site, there were more people than expected. Perhaps because she walked very quickly and looked no different from a normal person, most of the people were in a hurry to get to the competition and didn't notice that she was actually blind. But this didn't mean that everyone couldn't see. Tang Guo stopped in the corner and was about to wait for the crowd to recede before slowly going in. Suddenly, there was another person beside her. As she sniffed the faint scent of the candles, she heard a voice. Lady. Miss, may I ask, are you blind? Yes, Tang Guo replied with a smile. Are you here to watch the competition? Or to listen? Tang Guo nodded. That's right. Do you need my help? I accidentally looked at the ticket in your hand just now. We seem to be sitting next to each other. What a coincidence. Then I'll have to trouble you. Chapter 1963. After Tang Guo agreed, she heard the other party ask her to pick up the stick to write. She knew what the other party was thinking, so she picked up the stick a little. Soon, she felt a force coming from the other end of the stick. It seemed to be held by someone. Miss, you can follow me now. Hearing the other party's words, Tang Guo smiled and replied, okay. The other party held the other end of the stick and walked in front. Tang Guo held the other end of the stick and followed behind. He didn't walk very fast. Even though Tang Guo couldn't see, she could still feel the other party's gaze on her. He seemed to be observing her. He definitely wasn't observing anything else. He was observing if she was walking steadily, if there were any obstacles around them, and if there would be any crowd that would break them up. Because there are so many people, I didn't choose to walk side by side. Actually, if we die that way, no one will notice. It's easier to cause a lot of trouble. Actually, when he walked in with Tang Guo, some people had already noticed that she couldn't see. The people around them consciously slowed down a lot. Before they could make some space, the short road wasn't as crowded as before. Tang Guo even heard a young girl's voice behind her. Don't run. Be careful. Don't bump into people. She seems to be a little inconvenient. Let's slow down. The competition hasn't started yet. There's no need to rush. Of course, there were also voices from a little further away. What's going on in front? Why are you so slow? Why aren't you moving? Then, the young girl's voice was heard again. Don't rush. There's a lady here who doesn't seem to be very convenient. Can everyone slow down a little? Tang Guo's ears were very sharp. She seemed to hear someone whispering to the people behind them about the situation here. Then, the person who had urged them to hurry up said something like, sorry, in a low voice. Then, no one urged them again. The passageway, which was originally a little crowded, suddenly became orderly. It didn't seem to be in a hurry anymore. Everyone who went in to watch the competition consciously lined up in two lines. Although they seemed to be moving slowly, they actually entered very quickly. They didn't waste much time at all. The originally hot and somewhat restless summer day also dissipated because of the gentle pace at the entrance of the passage. The people who sat down were also quieter than usual. Tang Guo and the kind-hearted person who helped her had already taken their seats. Thank you for just now. You're welcome. May I know your name? The man paused and said, Lin Xian. My name is Tang Guo, Tang Guo replied with a smile. Lin Xian was silent for a moment before he asked, why did you come to such a lively place alone? Why didn't you find someone to accompany you? It's more dangerous to go alone. It's all right. Didn't I meet a good person like you? Lin Xian didn't know how to respond to Tang Guo's words. It should be said that it was his first time coming to such a lively place. This was the first time he had taken the initiative to help a pretty girl. No, it should be said that there had never been any girls around him before, but only smelly young men. Speaking of which, I haven't been here in a long time, Tang Guo said. I don't know what's the difference between listening to the competition and watching it. This sentence contained a lot of information. Lin Xian sat in his seat and thought for a moment. He understood something. Chapter 1964. Although Lin Xian understood something, he did not ask why. It was not good to poke at someone's pain in front of them. Although he spent most of his time on the mountain and had little contact with the outside world, his master and uncles had taught him very strictly since he was young. They did not ask about people's pain or poke at their weaknesses. Listening to a competition should be a good experience. Tang Guo, is that so? But what's the point of watching an esports competition? If you can't see the competition between the two sides, the exciting moments of victory, and the nervous expressions of the players and the cheers, it will always feel like the competition is lacking a lot of color. But you can hear it more clearly. The human brain's imagination is rich and colorful. You can combine these different sounds into more exciting scenes. It's also very interesting. Tang Guo said stubbornly, but I want to see it even more, even if it's not as interesting as imagined. Lin Xian looked at the girl beside him who could not see the world. Listening to her stubborn words, he fell into a dilemma. Usually, when he heard his master and uncles talking to people, they were all very reasonable. Why did it not work when it came to him? Yes, he liked to see the world. Could it be the same if he could see it and if he could not? Tang Guo could sense the other party's distress, and the corners of her lips curled up into a smile. The system reacted quickly and scanned Lin Xian. Finally, it said to Tang Guo, "Dear host, is this little bald head your most adorable?" Tang Guo, he's really bald. Yes, he's bald and has no hair. But he's not wearing a monk's robe. He's wearing sportswear, and it's a branded sportswear. It's not cheap. I scanned it. The shoes are about 5,000 yuan. Anyway, the whole outfit adds up to about 10,000 yuan. Are all little monks this rich these days? Oh right, he's also wearing a mechanical watch. It's not cheap. Of all the things he has, only his phone is cheaper. If he's so rich, I really don't understand why he wants to be a little monk. Could it be that he did not fulfill that wish in his previous life and wants to experience it in this life? Dear host, do you still want to be a monk? Tang Guo, then help me scan his head. See if there's a monk's scar on his head. I don't think so. That's good. Since he doesn't have any scars, he's most likely a fake monk. There's nothing else to worry about. Didn't you say that he wasn't a real monk based on what he was wearing? What if there are scars? The system could not help but ask. Tang Guo smiled and said, then I'll say something nice to coax him and ask him to return to the secular world. He should agree. System, alright, he's convinced. It's just as the host said. If that guy with no moral integrity was really coaxed by the host, even if he was a senior monk, he would probably obediently return to the secular world. Does it look good? Chapter 1965. Yes, I can help you. Lin Xian thought of a good idea just now. Tang Guo asked curiously, how are you going to help me? When the competition starts later and we reach the exciting part, I'll tell you. How about that? At this point, Lin Xian hesitated and asked, you should have seen those heroes before and are familiar with those skills, right? That's right. I've seen them before and I'm familiar with them. Then I'll try to tell you later and see if you can understand. Lin Xian didn't know why, but he just wanted to help her. He had been sent to live in a temple on the mountain for special reasons since he was young. His food, clothing, housing, and transportation were all settled there. Most of his life was no different from that of a real monk on the mountain. But he knew since he was young that he would return to the bustling city. Initially, he didn't plan to go down the mountain. He was already used to the scenery and everything on the mountain. Even if he wanted to be a real monk, it would not be difficult for him. His family had originally planned to bring him back to the city when he turned 18. Last year, he celebrated his 18th birthday and rejected his family's offer to bring him down the mountain. Furthermore, he told everyone that he planned to become a monk straight away. He didn't have much interest in this colorful city. At that time, no one in his family or anyone else could persuade him. In the end, everyone gave him a year to consider. If he didn't change his mind after a year, they would respect his choice. Until last month, he hadn't changed his mind. Almost everyone around him had given up hope on this matter. However, more than half a month ago, he had a dream. He dreamed of a bustling city. He had never been to the city before, but he could clearly see everything in the city. It was so noisy, but he felt that the entire city was very quiet. Moreover, he heard slow footsteps. No, other than the sound of footsteps, there was another sound. Tap, 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 it was a little like the sound of the girl beside him tapping on his face with a guide stick. No one believed that he would give up being a monk and choose to return to the city and be a layman again because of a dream. The game hasn't started yet. Lin Xian's eyes fell on the sound of the blind guiding stick in Tang Guo's hand. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that in addition to the slow footsteps in his dream, the other sound was made by this stick. Is there a problem? Tang Guo looked at Lin Xian. I keep feeling that you're looking at me. I'm thinking about how to recite the exciting match for you later. Finally, it was time for the competition. The audience was boiling with excitement as they watched the contestants come up one by one. At this moment, Tang Guo asked Lin Xian, "Can you help me check out a contestant with the code name, J? What does he look like now?" System, bad woman. When Lin Xian heard Tang Guo's words, he was slightly stunned. He actually had a purpose for coming to watch the match today. One of his goals was to get a closer look at the genius player codenamed J. Unexpectedly, the girl beside him seemed to care about him as well. He looks fine and calm. He should be full of confidence for this match. Really? Looks like Brother Yan Dong is very confident about this match. Tang Guo said happily. Lin Xian thought about her words. Brother Yan Dong. Chapter 1966. Do you know this contestant? Lin Xian asked directly after recalling that sentence. Tang Guo smiled and nodded, yes, I know him. Lin Xian observed her cousin carefully. He had a bald head and was frowning. Are you on good terms with him? Very close. Tang Guo continued, we are engaged. System, ha 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 ha. So that's how it is. Lin Xian was silent. He also remembered that he had seen Jay's information before. It was written that he had a fiancée who was 1 year younger than him. She seemed to be blind. He had also seen the details. The reason why she was blind was because her eyes and hands were injured when she was protecting Jiang Yandong. It was said that many doctors were invited to take a look at her, but they all said that she was permanently blind and could not be cured. Because of some neurological reasons, even if there was a treatment plan, with the current medical standards, it was impossible to perform surgery. As for her hands, they seemed to have been used to practice the piano. It was said that the next month after the accident, she was preparing to go abroad to participate in a competition. Oh right, not only was she good at playing the piano, she also knew how to draw. She had also won an award before. Many people praised her, saying that her drawings were very spiritual. It was that accident that although Jiang Yandong was saved, it destroyed 2 of her dreams. It turned out that this legendary fiancé of Jiang Yandong was sitting beside him. Such a good girl. No wonder Jiang Yandong did not hesitate to choose to be engaged to her. It was only right to take care of her for a lifetime. Mr. Lin, I'll have to trouble you later to help me describe Brother Yan Dong's performance. Is that okay? Hearing the girl's request, Lin Xian replied, okay. He was mainly here to see Jiang Yandong, this esports genius. Perhaps in the near future, they would become rivals. That's right. After he left the mountain, he had not thought of what to do. He also did not want to go abroad to study. Although he was on the mountain, he did not neglect his studies. It was quiet on the mountain. Besides martial arts, he also learned other things. He learned everything that he needed to learn. Just as he was about to do something, he was dragged to the club by his cousins, who said that they wanted to bring him to play sports. At first, he was unwilling, but later, he was brought along to play a few rounds. In any case, he was considered a little expert, and the flexibility of his fingers was definitely better than that of others. Things like playing games were much easier. After playing it, he found that it was not bad. Thus, he agreed to join his cousin's club and play with them for a few years. His cousins said that their only opponent was Jiang Yandong's team. Every year, they were defeated by Jiang Yandong. They all had high hopes for him, so they asked him to check on Jiang Yandong's situation and figure out the enemy's ins and outs. They said that the hope of their entire village was on him. He had only come here with a playful attitude. He didn't expect to have such a different experience. Seeing Jiang Yandong sitting on the esports chair, looking high-spirited, and then looking at the girl sitting beside him, looking serious. Even if she couldn't see, she still wanted to study by herself. He also became serious. When the competition started, Lin Xian softly whispered in Tang Guo's ear, describing Jiang Yandong's every move. His observation was very clear and detailed. System, Tang Guo, this little brother's voice is quite nice. System, go to hell. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, follow Advanced Study Literature on WeChat, talk about life, and find friends. Chapter 1967. Lin Xian observed Tang Guo's expression as he narrated the highlights of the competition. Looking at her smiling face, for some reason, he felt a little stifled in his heart. It had to be said that Jiang Yandong was known as an esports genius because he was really capable. In the competition, with the full cooperation of his teammates, he simply took the lead and became a one-man show. It was also because of Jiang Yandong's undefeated reputation that his teammates were willing to sacrifice themselves for him. This was a team competition. As long as they could win, and Jiang Yandong was capable, they were of course willing to sacrifice themselves for the shared glory. As long as this team continued to win, although they could not surpass Jiang Yandong in terms of glory, they would still gain a lot of glory. Lin Xian also had to admit that even though Jiang Yandong was an ordinary person, in terms of gaming, he was indeed very outstanding. He was very strong, and his skills, all kinds of predictions, and positioning were very tricky. Especially the calculation of damage and health points, it was very accurate. Not only did this require hand speed, but it also required brain power and fast calculation skills. None of these could be missing. He looked at Tang Guo's happy smile and became more serious in his narration, trying to observe Jiang Yandong's every strength and weakness. After all, this was his future opponent. Of course, in the end, Jiang Yandong's team won. Brother Yandong, as expected, is still so good. That's great. Hearing Tang Guo's generous praise, Lin Xian could not help but want to turn around and ask his cousin to equip him with equipment. He wanted to train hard in the game. The opponent was so strong, he could not underestimate them. Tang Guo, Tongzi, this bald little brother's narration is really interesting. System, Tang Guo, yeah, his voice is nice, his narration is good, and he's also a handsome bald little brother. There's really no other person in this world like him. Tang Guo and the system were talking, but in Lin Xian's eyes, her smile was automatically interpreted as her being happy for Jiang Yandong. He saw that Jiang Yandong was surrounded by countless fans, and Tang Guo was sitting in her seat with a face full of smiles. He could not help but ask, "Do you need me to bring you to see him? Then I'll have to trouble you." Lin Xian held the other end of the blind guide stick and brought Tang Guo to Jiang Yandong's seat. Those fans were too crazy. They kept surrounding him, and he could not bring her in. There are too many people looking for his autograph. We might have to wait. Tang Guo smiled and said, "Let's wait." She was not in a hurry anyway. She was not interested in seeing Jiang Yandong. After waiting for about 20 minutes, Lin Xian saw that more and more people were arriving. He whispered to her, "Why don't you give him a call?" "That's right. You're right." Tang Guo took out her phone and called Jiang Yandong. But there was no response from Jiang Yandong. Lin Xian said, "Maybe he didn't bring it with him, so he can't hear." "It's okay. Let's wait." "System, it's okay. Anyway, There's a handsome bald little brother holding the host's hand. She did not mind at all. She stood in the corner and waited. Lin Xian looked at the people coming and going, and suddenly calmed down. He was cultivating his body and mind on the mountain. Why did he suddenly become anxious? Chapter 1968. Xiaogua. In the end, the person who discovered Tang Gua was a member of Jiang Yandong's team. His name was Wen Yunyang. He saw Tang Gua standing in the corner. There was also a bald guy holding the other end of the blind guiding stick. It looked like he was helping her. He hurriedly walked to Tang Gua's side. Did you come here alone to look for Yandong? Yes, Brother Yandong seems to be very busy. Wait a moment, I'll go and call him. Why didn't you come and look for us directly? You wouldn't have to wait here if you wanted to. When Yunyang's voice gradually faded away. Tang Gua was still smiling. Although she knew everyone in the team, she did not have any contact with them. However, she did not have their contact information at all. In the past, she had only watched their competitions from below the stage. She had never gone backstage to look for them. This was because she had always thought that if she went to look for them, she would cause trouble for Jiang Yandong. She would distract him and affect the competition. If she went to disturb him and his teammates, would it make them uncomfortable or something? The original owner was too considerate. If she was polite, she would feel unfamiliar with people. Fortunately, these teammates often came to the villa to play. They were more familiar with each other, but they were not familiar with her. This was because she had always been quiet in front of them. She never talked much to them. This was because she liked Jiang Yandong. If she talked to other guys besides Jiang Yandong, it might cause unnecessary misunderstandings. As for her teammates, they also thought that she was gentle and distant, so they didn't get along well with her. Soon, Jiang Yandong apologized to his teammates and ran over to Tang Gua. Xiaogua, why are you here? I suddenly wanted to listen to Brother Yandong's competition. I haven't been here in a long time. Hearing Tang Gua's words, Jiang Yandong was stunned. Yes, ever since the accident, she had never come to the competition venue or watch any of his competitions. In the past, when she could see, she would come to almost every one of his matches. Why didn't you tell me that you were coming? It's not safe to come here alone. Tang Gua said. Because a kind person helped me. Just as she spoke, she realized that the other end of the blind guiding stick had lost its power. Brother Yandong, the person who helped me just now seemed to have left. Do you see anyone else beside me? Jiang Yandong looked around. No, he should have left. Oh, I haven't had the chance to thank him. Come on, let's go in first. We'll go home together later. Lin Xian, who had already walked out of the arena, turned his head back and saw Tang Gua being led in by Jiang Yandong. He felt a little depressed. He walked out slowly and accidentally overheard the girls' discussion. Who is that girl beside Jiang Jiang? She seems to be blind. Oh, that's Jiang Yandong's fiancée. You can search for her online. Fiancée? The girl who spoke was a little surprised. Why would our Jiang Jiang be engaged to a blind person? What's her background? Shoo, don't talk nonsense. There are many reasons. If Jiang Jiang knows that we are talking like this, he will not be happy. Although I also think that Jiang Jiang should have a very good person with him, it seems that there is no other way, another girl said regretfully. Lin Xian's brows never relaxed. Was there anyone in the city who spoke like this? If they were in the temple on the mountain, they would be beaten up by the entire temple. Chapter 1969. Yandong, didn't we agree to go to the karaoke? Why are you going back now? Jiang Yandong's teammates couldn't help but ask as they watched him pack up his things and walk over with Tang Gua to say goodbye. According to tradition, we have won again today, so we should go and celebrate. The person who spoke was called Tong Huai. He was the third male lead of the original female lead, Xiao Yan. He had a rather sunny and handsome appearance, and his words were loud and straightforward. He was the least scheming youth in the entire team. When Yunyang, who had come to greet Tanggua, was the second male lead of this world. He had a good temper, was polite, and had a high IQ. He was well-rounded in everything he did. He was also the one that Xiao Yan, the female lead, was most attached to. Under these circumstances, everyone knew that Jiang Yandong was going to take Tanggua back. They knew that today's gathering was probably not going to happen. Most of them wouldn't say anything. They would probably choose another time to gather again. Plus, there were plenty of opportunities like this. After all, their team had always been victorious. Ever since Jiang Yandong joined, they had never lost a single match. However, Tong Huai was more direct in everything he did. At such an important moment, Jiang Yandong had left with Tanggua. That was not very nice. Jiang Yandong was an important member of the team. Now that Tong Huai had said that, he felt a little awkward. Tanggua said, "Brother Yandong, did you guys agree to have a gathering?" "Yeah, but it's okay. There are plenty of gatherings like this." Jiang Yandong whispered to Tanggua. He knew that gatherings could be held at any time. He definitely couldn't leave Tanggua aside. That would be unkind. "I'll tell them that I won't be going today. Brother Yandong's team won. It's only right for them to have a gathering. It's not very good for them to leave because of me, right?" That was the personality of the original owner. She would always think for Jiang Yandong. Even though she was in the right, the weak, and the one who should be taken care of, she still couldn't help but care about everything about Jiang Yandong. It was normal for him to say something like that at this moment. Jiang Yandong was a little hesitant. Indeed, today's opening match was very important to their entire team. If it weren't for Tanggua's sudden arrival, he wouldn't have missed such a gathering. Actually, it's not that difficult. Why don't we bring Xiaogua to the party? We can take care of her. It won't be a problem, when Yunyang suggested when he saw Jiang Yandong's awkward expression. Actually, this could have been done, but Jiang Yandong always felt that Tanggua's eyesight was not good. It would not be good to bring her there, and it would cause trouble for others. Yes, he was thinking about causing trouble for others, not whether she would be all right. Even if he felt guilty and liked her a little, he was happy to be cared for by her. But in the depths of his heart, he couldn't lie to anyone. He cared about his team members the most. In the end, Jiang Yandong brought Tanggua to the party. These were all half-grown boys. Once they started to make a fuss, they would always neglect other things. Tanggua sat in the corner and listened to the noise in the private room. She held a glass of juice in her hand and maintained a smile on her face. Jiang Yandong was singing, talking, and drinking with his teammates the whole time. The atmosphere was so high that he had already forgotten about the quiet girl in the corner. Chapter 1970. If you didn't like someone that much, you wouldn't care too much about her. Even if you suddenly thought of her, you would only feel a little guilty. When she said that she was fine, the guilt would slowly decrease. Once or twice, you would feel guilty. Once or twice, you would get used to it. The original owner's actions left a quiet and sensible impression in everyone's mind. So when she realized that she had no choice but to grab onto the person she liked and try to grab onto him, it would be annoying if it happened more frequently, if she was a little uneasy and nervous. Those who thought that she was sensible and obedient would think that she was arrogant because she was pampered and became insensible and willful. If you don't cry or make a fuss, who knows what you need? If you were too obedient, it would become a matter of course in some people's eyes. The system asked with concern. After all, this private room was really noisy, but this noise and joy didn't belong to her. The group of youths were already immersed in the joy of victory. Jiang Yandong didn't bring her into that world. Pretty good. Tang Guo's lips curled into a smile. I'm wondering when I'll be able to meet that little bald brother again. System, all right. The system observed Tang Guo and realized that there was nothing wrong with her. She maintained everything as it was, probably because she didn't want to give Jiang Yandong any chance at all. Then, he did something on his own and went to find the whereabouts of the little bald brother, Lin Xian. Since the host was so concerned about the little bald brother, then he would help the host find out what he was doing now. Not long after, the system found Lin Xian and realized that he was watching videos in a room of a villa. It wasn't any other videos, but gaming videos. He took a closer look and realized that the gaming videos were all about Jiang Yandong. Then, he found a small notebook filled with many words beside Lin Xian. After scanning it carefully, he realized that the contents of the notebook were basically strengths, weaknesses, strengths, loopholes. The system was stunned. This guy was actually studying every single video of Jiang Yandong's competition. And he started from the video of Jiang Yandong entering the esports scene. He even analyzed everything about Jiang Yandong. The system shuddered and left silently. Although this guy hadn't realized that he might have a special feeling for the host. But what was left in the subconscious would not change. She was already analyzing the enemy's weakness before she was even tempted. Amazing, the host's cutie. Tang Guo smiled and asked, "What are you doing?" The system told Tang Guo what it saw and realized that his energy had increased crazily for a while. He couldn't help but be speechless. That guy really knew how to please his host. A serious person will definitely achieve the greatest victory. I hope that he can lead his team and defeat Jiang Yandong, the esports genius. System, whatever the host says, that day will definitely come soon. Ah, Xian, didn't you say before that it was just for fun? Why are you so serious now? The person who patted Lin Xian's shoulder was Lin Xian's cousin. He was also the person who had pulled him into the esports club to play. This club was set up by a few youths from the Lin family who were passionate about esports. It was also very popular with many fans. It should be said that compared to Jiang Yandong's team, this team was more likable. Chapter 1971. This was because the members of this team were all of high status. An esports team made up of rich second-generation heirs, and they were all so handsome. Not many female fans would be able to stand them. Since we're going to play, we have to treat it seriously. Lin Xian didn't even raise his head as he continued to watch the video. This is what my master taught me. Since we've chosen something, we have to treat it seriously. We can't underestimate any opponent, especially this kind of team glory. If we make mistakes because of our own carelessness, then we're being irresponsible. Lin Li looked at Lin Xian in shock. Was that so? Was that what his cousin was thinking? Why did he feel that it wasn't just that? He glanced at a thick stack of books beside him. He flipped through them and realized that they were books on ophthalmology. Why are you reading these? Did you learn how to protect your eyes because you know that playing games is harmful to your eyes? When I bought other books, I saw that the covers were nice, so I bought them. You can understand it that way. Lin Li felt that something wasn't right. Xiao Gua, I'm sorry. I was having too much fun with everyone and neglected you. On the way home, Jiang Yandong finally remembered that he was having too much fun with the others in the private room and didn't notice Tang Guo sitting quietly beside him. Tang Guo smiled and said, "Brother Yandong, it's fine as long as you're having fun. You don't have to feel guilty. I'm already very happy to be able to sit beside you and hear your voice. I'm happy as long as you're happy." Hearing the girl's pure tone, Jiang Yandong felt complicated and guilty. It's my fault. I'll definitely bring you along to play in the future. I'm not having enough fun. Brother Yandong, you don't have to blame yourself. I'm telling the truth. I'm happy as long as you're having fun. Tang Guo was telling the truth. If Jiang Yandong was having fun, then the original owner was very happy. She was really happy. As long as Jiang Yandong didn't forget her, talked to her more, and kept her in his heart. She was content as long as she sat at the side and listened to their voices. Even if her world was dark, as long as she could hear Jiang Yandong's voice, she would not feel lonely and quiet. Xiao Guo is such a good girl. Jiang Yandong didn't know what to say. You haven't eaten anything today, right? Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat? Then, Brother Yandong, buy me a dessert, the strawberry-flavored one from before. Jiang Yandong thought about it and finally remembered that she was talking about some strawberry-flavored dessert. When she was very young, he had bought her a dessert like this for her birthday. Later on, she seemed to like the taste of desserts. Okay. When we pass by later, I'll ask the driver to stop the car and take you to buy it. The two of them returned to the villa. Tang Guo sat in the living room and slowly ate the strawberry dessert. In reality, it wasn't as delicious as he had imagined. It could only be considered average. However, this was the original owner's favorite food because Jiang Yandong had bought it for her on her birthday. Jiang Yandong told Tang Guo that if she wanted to go to the competition next time, she should let him know and he would take her there. So the second time she wanted to go, she told Jiang Yandong. At that time, Jiang Yandong agreed. But the next day, he seemed to have forgotten about it. In the end, she asked Madame Chen to book a ticket for her and went to the competition venue alone. What a coincidence. Why are you alone again? Tang Guo asked in surprise. Is it Mr. Lin? It's me. What a coincidence. We seem to be sitting next to each other again. System, liar. Chapter 1972. Really? Tang Guo asked with a smile. Her eyes were clearly lifeless, but Lin Xian felt that her entire body was emitting a gentle glow. This glow was constantly attracting him to get closer to her. He did not know what was wrong with him. He had clearly lived a peaceful life for 19 years, but a trip to a bustling city had stirred up his quiet heart. Really, I'll bring you in. Then I'll have to trouble you. Just like before, Lin Xian held the other end of the blind guiding stick and walked sideways. He paid attention to Tang Guo's surroundings and brought her into the competition venue. He brought her to her seat and only heaved a sigh of relief when she sat down. The system could not hold it in any longer. Tang Guo was baffled. What should I be careful of? Of him tricking me into going back? I can't wait. System, go to hell, that seems to be the case. Besides, who doesn't scheme when they live in this world? He recognized me and swapped tickets with someone else. He was really trying to help me. System, seems like it. I don't want to back down anymore. Lin Xian's explanation of an intense competition was exceptionally interesting. Seeing that Tang Guo was listening with great interest, his lips curled into a smile. When it was finally over, he finally remembered that Tang Guo might have come for Jiang Yandong. He hesitated for a moment, then asked reluctantly, do you need my help to bring you to Jiang Yandong? Brother Yandong, don't you look very busy? He is very busy. There are many female fans surrounding him asking for his autograph. But with your relationship with him, he should come over. Tang Guo shook her head. Forget it. I'll have to trouble Mr. Lin to bring me out. If I disturb Brother Yandong every time, I'll bring him trouble. They won again today, so they'll definitely go for a meal and karaoke. I'll only bring them trouble if I go over. Lin Xian did not say much and brought Tang Guo out. He could not comment on other people's affairs. He only felt that this was a very persistent girl, so he chose to respect her. At the same time, he felt that it was a pity. If only her eyes could see, her life would be very good. Why is there only one person coming out every time? Mr. Lin, do you think that I should stay at home and not go anywhere because I can't see? It's not like my legs are broken. Even if my legs are broken, I can still travel with the help of tools. No, that's not what I meant, Lin Xian said nervously. What I meant was that it might be better to find someone to accompany you. I don't think I need it because I can use tools to go wherever I want like a normal person. Even if we run into trouble, aren't there kind-hearted people like Mr. Lin around? Lin Xian wanted to say that he didn't appear every time. However, he glanced at the competition venue behind him. Perhaps he would appear in any of Jiang Yandong's matches. As for her, she probably only watches Jiang Yandong's matches, right? That's fine too. Having figured it out, Lin Xian was in a good mood. One evening, Tang Guo sat in the living room and waited for Jiang Yandong to come back. Today, Jiang Yandong was a little different. Listening to his footsteps, he seemed to be in a hurry. After a while, he came back down. Chapter 1973. Hearing Jiang Yandong's footsteps, Tang Guo stopped him. Brother Yandong, did something happen? You just came back and you want to go out? Yes, something did happen. What happened? Xiao Guo, don't worry. Nothing happened to me. There was some conflict among the fans today. Someone splashed chili water on me. Jiang Yandong told the truth. Seeing Tang Guo's worried face, he hurriedly said, Don't worry, I'm fine. It was another fan who suddenly pounced on me and blocked it for me. But she seems to have fallen and is currently being sent to the hospital. I'm going over to take a look. Then be careful. You must thank the other party. Tang Guo's smile remained unchanged. Was it the same as what she had guessed? If it was the same, the world's will was really good to the female lead. Originally, there was such a thing, but Jiang Yandong dodged quickly and was not splashed. She suspected that the fan who suddenly flew over and pounced on Jiang Yandong was Xiao Yan. The system quickly explained the matter. Xiao Yan planned to secretly watch Jiang Yandong. Because of the previous incident, she had not come to watch Jiang Yandong's competition for a long time. But after thinking about it, she still felt aggrieved. Moreover, she was a fan of Adonis for so long. She felt a little indignant and planned to watch from the corner. The previous incident could not be explained clearly. In the future, she would just be a passerby fan. Even if Jiang Yandong was a little annoying before, he was indeed a genius. She did not expect that accident to happen. At that time, Xiao Yan did not even think about it. She directly rushed over with her agile skills and blocked in front of him. But she forgot that she was wearing a miniskirt and small high heels. She did not land steadily and hurt herself. After hearing this, Tang Guo's feelings were complicated. Then, was the scene between a man and a woman about to start? Even if Xiao Yan was a thief and had a bad impression of her before, Jiang Yandong's impression of her would change greatly after this incident. Brother Yandong, be careful. Alright, go to bed early. After Jiang Yandong left, Tang Guo really went to bed after washing up. She wondered how the bald guy's game training was going. For the next few days, Tang Guo could feel the changes in Jiang Yandong. Sometimes she could feel that he was angry, and sometimes he was laughing. Tang Guo said faintly, if that's the case, should I go to the hospital to see Brother Yandong's savior? Tang Guo directly called Wen Yunyang to explain her intentions. Yes. Fortunately, this kind-hearted fan helped Brother Yandong. How about it? I have to thank him. System, the host has a strong taste of green tea. Have you eaten it before? When Yunyang told Tang Guo the hospital's address and ward number. Then, she took the guide's stick and the gift and went to the hospital. At the door of the ward, Tang Guo gently knocked on the door and then pushed it open. She stood at the door and asked, Excuse me, is this Miss Xiao's ward? Miss Xiao, are you there? I am Brother Yen Dong's fiancé. Previously, Brother Yen Dong was almost injured. Fortunately, you helped. Today, I specially came to thank you. Chapter 1974. It was quiet in the ward. Tangua stood at the door with a guide stick in one hand and a gift for the patient in the other, with a sweet smile on her face. What were Xiao Yan and Jiang Yandong doing? Because the two of them were enemies, they had fought in the ward before. Then, it was very melodramatic. The two of them had a very intimate action. Xiao Yan almost fell again, and Jiang Yandong naturally caught her quickly. Because of inertia, the two of them fell on the bed together. When Tang Guo opened the door, their lips just touched. System, angry. Jiang Yandong was really a scumbag. He had a fiancé, but he still played with other girls. Tang Guo smiled in her heart and continued to ask, "Is Miss Xiao here?" Hearing Tang Guo's voice, Xiao Yan finally came to her senses and pushed Jiang Yandong away. Jiang Yandong staggered back and hit the wall behind him. He hissed in pain. "Miss Xiao, what's wrong with you?" It was obviously an accident, but Xiao Yan felt a little guilty. She steadied her breath and said, I'm fine. It's just that the wound hurts a little." "Oh, then I'm right. You're the Miss Xiao who helped Brother Yen Dong, right?" Xiao Yan said weakly, "Yes, it's me." "Miss Xiao, thank you very much." Tang Guo gently closed the door and slowly walked to the bed. "Thank you for helping Brother Yen Dong." If the chilly water was really poured into his eyes, it would have a great impact on him. He loves his dreams. If there was something wrong with his eyes, he would be very sad. "Thank you." You're welcome. I'm also his fan. I also hope that he can go further and further on this road and continue to burn his dreams. The more Xiao Yan said, the more guilty she felt. It was just an accident, but she always felt a little afraid to face Tang Guo. Fortunately, the other party was blind. Brother Yen Dong. When Jiang Yandong was about to retreat slowly while Tang Guo and Xiao Yan were talking, Tang Guo's sudden voice startled them both. "Is it Brother Yen Dong? I can smell you." Jiang Yandong's face was a little pale. How could he forget that ever since Xiao Guo lost his sight, his ears and nose had become especially sensitive? Anyone who was slightly closer to her would be able to sense that something was amiss. Just when he didn't know how to explain, Xiao Yan said, Jiang, did you come with your fiancée? She's really beautiful." "No, I arrived later." "Did Xiao Guo just arrive?" Jiang Yandong breathed a sigh of relief and asked Xiao Yan in a polite and distant tone, "How are you today?" "Not bad. There aren't any problems. You can be discharged in 2 days." Tang Guo then said, "So Brother Yen Dong just came in?" "Yeah, I just came in. I didn't even have time to greet Xiao Guo before you noticed me." Jiang Yandong's voice was trembling as he lied. He sat beside Tang Guo and held her hand. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" "I called Brother Yen Dong earlier, but it seemed like no one picked up. Then I asked Wen Yunyang, and he was the one who told me the address." Jiang Yandong touched his phone and finally found it in a corner on the ground. When he saw the missed calls, he felt a little embarrassed. He must have not heard it when he was fighting with Xiao Yan earlier. Maybe I was too busy before and didn't notice. Chapter 1975. In the ward, Xiao Yan endured the awkwardness and fear. Tang Guo thanked her with a smile, and her speech was a little incoherent. Especially the awkward scene when she fought with Jiang Yandong, it made her feel even more guilty. Fortunately, Tang Guo didn't stay for long and left the ward with Jiang Yandong. When Jiang Yandong closed the ward door, Xiao Yan couldn't help but glare at him. "Brother Yen Dong, what's wrong?" Jiang Yandong was stunned by the glare. Tang Guo instantly realized that something was wrong with him and called out. Jiang Yandong woke up. Xiao Yan also shrank her neck and stuck her tongue out at him. He quickly closed the door and answered casually, "Nothing." "Xiao Guo, in the future, you must tell me first. I can bring you to see the patient, okay?" Thinking about what happened before, Jiang Yandong still had a lingering fear. A sentence that he shouldn't have said flashed in his heart. Fortunately, Xiao Guo couldn't see it. Otherwise, he wouldn't know how to end today. "Brother Yandong, in the future, you must not miss my call." Hearing Tang Guo's words, Jiang Yandong didn't know how to respond. Yes, Tang Guo had called him before. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come directly. "I will pay attention next time." Tang Guo just smiled at this sentence and didn't take it seriously. When Jiang Yandong was busy, he went to the club, played games, and did things that attracted him. He wouldn't miss the original host. This was just a young man who loved esports. He didn't know what responsibility and love were. The two of them slowly walked back. Even if there was nothing, Jiang Yandong couldn't stay in the villa. He usually used the excuse of leaving the villa to go to the club. The original owner knew that he cared a lot about his dream, so of course, she didn't hesitate to send him away. Knowing that he was working hard for his dream, she was only worried about his body and didn't think about anything else. She didn't know that Jiang Yandong's promise was more of guilt than anything else. He thought that they would be able to stay like this forever. "Tongzi, what do you think if I open a social media account?" System, he couldn't blame the system for asking this. If he couldn't see with his eyes, what was the point of opening a social media account? That's not true. Can't you just send a voice message or a video message? I'll just post a voice message about Jiang Yandong every day. It should attract a lot of attention. The system said weakly. "Host, you're definitely up to something." Ever since she had taught Xiao Yan a lesson, she had not done anything else. He didn't believe that the host would forget to teach Xiao Yan a lesson because of the bald guy. The goal is to let everyone know what kind of person the fiancé of Jiang Yandong, the genius esports player, is. Tang Guo said faintly. No matter how good a person is, there is no way for outsiders to understand her. When she is weak, Jiang Yandong's halo is enough to cover everything. Everything will fall on her. What if the outsiders know me well? The system seemed to have understood something. Sure enough, he knew that Jiang Yandong and Xiao Yan wouldn't have it easy. Tang Guo's lips curved. Then help me open an account first. I'm going to share something with everyone later. The system trembled and opened an account for Tang Guo. Chapter 1976. Today should be a beautiful day. Brother Yandong went to the club for training again. I hope everything goes well for him today. The sun shines in warmly from outside the window. I suddenly want to know what the color of summer is. I almost forgot. The system watched silently. Tang Guo used her phone to record the scenery outside the window as she spoke in a sweet and gentle voice. Her love for Jiang Yandong, as well as her regret for forgetting the color of summer, made one's heart ache when they heard it. Tang Guo changed the name of her social media account to Xiao Guo, who hopes brother Yandong will be happy today. The name was long, but it was attractive enough. When the video was uploaded, it attracted a lot of attention. With the help of the system, Tang Guo's social media account was quickly spread by many people. In a short time, many people were paying attention to it. Even people from the club saw it. When Yunyang saw the video, he couldn't see because the person who took the video was blind. There was clearly a beautiful scenery outside the window, but she only managed to capture a part of it. More than half of it only captured the wall. Coupled with her voice, it made one's heart ache. Yandong, is this your fiancé's account? Tong Huai, who was as carefree as ever, raised his phone in front of Jiang Yandong. Look, your fiancé actually has a social media account. She even took a video, but it seems to be crooked. That's right. She can't see, so she can't capture the outside clearly. Jiang Yandong opened the video and listened to Tang Guo's words. He felt a little guilty and said, I won't go to the gathering today. Xiao Guo is too lonely. I'll go back and accompany her. Not only that, he also unlocked his phone, logged into his social media account and followed Tang Guo's new account. Jiang Yandong was an esports genius. Since he became famous, many people were paying attention to him. The number of people he followed was only a few. Just as he started following Tang Guo, the fans found out about it. Then, those who still had doubts also believed that this new social media account really belonged to Jiang Yandong's fiancé. People with all kinds of thoughts began to pay attention to Tang Guo. Tang Guo listened to the system telling her that the number of fans was skyrocketing. There was a smile on her lips. This was just as she thought. As long as Jiang Yandong followed her, her account would attract a lot of attention. And most of these people who were paying attention were Jiang Yandong's fans. There could be malice in this, but there could also be curiosity. No matter what they were thinking, from the day they started paying attention to her, she would show them the true host. As long as Jiang Yandong dared to cheat on her, she would make his fans hate him as much as they liked him in the beginning. You're the master of the esports world, yet you still want to wash your hands clean after cheating? Dream on. When Jiang Yandong came back, he saw Tang Guo holding her phone and listening to the messages under her account. This was an auxiliary tool that could be used to read messages. Xiao Guo. Brother Yandong, why are you so early today? Jiang Yandong sat beside her and glanced at her phone. Why did you think of opening a social media account? I wanted to find something to do, but I couldn't do anything else, so I opened an account to record my feelings. I want to share with everyone the happy things that Brother Yandong and I are doing. Jiang Yandong certainly wouldn't say anything at this time. Let's go out and have fun today. Sure. Chapter 1977. Not only did Tang Guo agree to go out with Jiang Yandong, she even made Jiang Yandong record a video on the spot. Of course, this time, Jiang Yandong was the one holding the phone, so he wouldn't miss the shot this time. Tang Guo faced the camera happily. Regardless of whether they saw it or not, anyone who watched the video could feel her happiness. Brother Yandong came back early today. We're going out to play. After this video was posted, it caused another stir. On the way, they met many good places that Jiang Yandong talked about. Tang Guo would make a video with him as a souvenir. Today, Jiang Yandong felt especially guilty. Naturally, he would do whatever she said. System, scum, you're done for. This is the host's gentle trap. Jiang Yandong's fans went crazy. In the morning, they were still questioning whether this social media account was fake. Now that Jiang Yandong appeared in the video, and it was even a live video, the screen was full of jealousy. Then, everyone left comments. Most of them were, Jiang is so gentle. Jiang's fiancé is so happy. If I can be with Jiang, I'm willing to lose anything. Fans were sometimes so crazy. Almost no one would mention what this girl had done for Jiang Yandong. When Tang Guo heard the system's feedback, she wasn't angry at all. What was there to be anxious about? It was only the first day. These were all Jiang Yandong's fans. Naturally, they would speak up for him and pay attention to him. She would let everyone slowly understand what kind of person she was. Xiao Yan, who had already been discharged from the hospital, was also informed that Jiang Yandong's fiancé had opened a social media account. She logged in and saw the videos that were updated in real time. In the video, Tang Guo and Jiang Yandong appeared together. It made her feel inexplicably uncomfortable. She quickly closed the video, but couldn't help but click on the follow button. Ah, Xian, what are you looking at? Linley noticed that Lin Xian was staring at his phone with great interest. He didn't even hear what Linley was saying. He walked over and found that Lin Xian was actually looking at Tanggua's social media account. He patted Lin Xian on the shoulder with a smile and said, "You really know something about Jiang Yandong. Why are you also looking at his fiancée's account?" Ah, Xian, although you have some ability, you can't have any crooked thoughts, right? This girl is quite pitiful. After a pause, Linley said, originally, she was innocent, but because of the vicious competition in the esports world back then, she was hurt. Fortunately, Jiang Yandong has a conscience and is willing to take care of her for the rest of her life. This was also true. Even if they couldn't beat Jiang Yandong in a fight, they still had a good impression of him. A responsible person would be respected no matter where he went. Don't worry, I'm not. Isn't Jiang Yandong on the list? Lin Xian said calmly, I'm analyzing Jiang Yandong's personality. Perhaps he was pretending in the competition. Now that we're in his social circle, we might be able to find something else. Linley felt that his cousin was crazy. What kind of esports was he playing? He was simply a research maniac. They didn't have the patience to watch all of Jiang Yandong's videos. This kid didn't get tired of watching them. He even made a thick notebook and shared it with them. Needless to say, after watching it, they understood more about Jiang Yandong. They even learned some useful things. Chapter 1978. It's a new day. Brother Yen Dong went to school early. I'm a little worried that his body won't be able to take the training after class. Maybe when Madam Chen comes over, I should ask her to make some soup for Brother Yen Dong to nourish his body. If it's possible, I can make it myself. It's not hot this morning. It's a little cool, but standing on the balcony, I can feel the warmth of the morning sun on my skin. It's a sunny day again. How nice. The fans woke up early in the morning to watch Tanggua's updates. Sure enough, at around 8 o'clock, they posted a video. They clicked on the video. As expected, the best part of the video was not found. Because they were taking photos of the balcony today, it was much better than taking photos of a large area of the wall. Listening to the girl with the sweet and gentle voice speak, they gradually quieted down. Actually, this girl was pretty good. She wasn't as bad as they thought. Many of them were fans of Jiang Yandong later on. They didn't know about their past. Now that Tanggua appeared in the public eye, as long as they followed her regularly, there would definitely be old fans who would talk about her and Jiang Yandong's past in the comments. Naturally, more and more people would know about their past. Being in close contact with such a person, other than crazy fans, no one would have any ill intentions towards this kind and beautiful girl who was wholeheartedly in love with Jiang Yandong. It was only the second day, but the comments below the video's update had become much gentler. There were even people who sent their blessings. There were two very special audience members. One was Xiao Yan, and the other was Lin Xian. Today, I plan to watch Brother Yen Dong's competition. Every time, he says that I must inform him when I want to watch. He's so busy. Other than not being able to watch, there's nothing inconvenient about it. If I go quietly, I might even be able to give him a surprise. Many fans were a little annoyed when they saw this. Why didn't they fight for the tickets earlier? But this didn't stop people from going over. They quietly squatted outside the competition venue. Soon, they saw the girl with the guide stick get out of the car and slowly walk over. With a smile on her face, she thanked those who made way for her. Originally, they wanted to go up, but they realized that other than being blind, she really didn't need anyone's help. The people around her only needed to walk carefully and not run. They just needed to give her some space. Lin Xian originally wanted to go up directly, but then he found that those people seemed to know Tanggua and automatically made way for her. At this time, it would not be good for him to go up. However, he still played a trick and changed his ticket. This time, he didn't intend to greet her. Unexpectedly, when he sat down, he heard the girl's voice beside him. "Are you Mr. Lin?" Lin Xian was a little surprised. After confirming that she hadn't seen him, he said, "It's me." "How did you know it was me, Miss Tang?" "I smell a faint scent of incense. Every time I come here, I meet many people. However, the faint scent of incense on Mr. Lin's body is very special. No one else has it." "What a coincidence." "It is quite a coincidence." "Is Mr. Lin a fan of Brother Yan Dong?" Lin Xian quickly denied it. No. He couldn't possibly be Jiang Yandong's fan. They were rivals. Chapter 1979. Then why does Mr. Lin come every time? Tang Gua asked with a smile. For some reason, Lin Xian didn't want to lie to her. He said honestly, "I might be his opponent in the future. I'm here to learn from his strengths and find out his weaknesses. I plan to defeat this legend in the future." "Oh, is that so?" Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. "Why, you don't believe me?" "Mr. Lin is a man with a dream." Lin Xian replied, "No, I'm a man with a goal. Defeating Jiang Yandong is my goal. Brother Yan Dong is very powerful. It won't be easy for Mr. Lin to defeat him." Tang Gua continued. The system was laughing crazily. "Host, aren't you afraid that your big cute bald head will be sad? But it's good to have a goal. I choose to give you my blessings." Lin Xian couldn't help but ask a very stupid question. "If one day I defeat Jiang Yandong, will you be sad?" "No, I'll just feel regretful. No matter where it is, there will always be talents in every generation. Brother Yan Dong is a human, not a god. There are no legends in this world that are undefeatable. One generation will replace another. Even so, Brother Yan Dong is still the most powerful in my opinion. System, who can withstand such a fatal blow?" Hearing such an answer, Lin Xian didn't want to continue this topic. He felt a little depressed, but he didn't know why. "I'll help you explain it later." "How about it?" "Okay." How could Tang Gua refuse? But before Lin Xian spoke, she asked Lin Xian to help her record a video of Jiang Yandong walking on stage and posted it on her social media account. She even added a happy voice message, "Everyone around me is saying that Brother Yan Dong is the most handsome. I think so too. Today's Brother Yan Dong, victory belongs to him." Lin Xian clicked on the post and glanced at it. He regretted it. He shouldn't have made Jiang Yandong look so handsome. In the following days, Tang Guo repeated the post almost every day. She took a picture of the scenery outside the window. Of course, as long as it was taken by herself, it would be crooked and she would not be able to capture the best view. She said the same words of concern. Every word that came out of her mouth always made people feel tender. Other than the first 2 times, Jiang Yandong also paid attention to Tang Guo's updates and liked them. Later on, he almost forgot about it, but Tang Guo's fans kept increasing. As she recorded her life every day, she expressed her love for Jiang Yandong, as well as everyone's understanding of everything that happened between the two of them. There were already very few fans who thought that she was not good enough for Jiang Yandong. On the contrary, in the hearts of the fans, Tang Gua had been labeled as Jiang Yandong's future wife. Anyone who surfed the internet would know that Jiang Yandong's fiancé was infatuated, gentle, and good-natured. It had only been 10 days since Tang Gua registered her social media account. However, Jiang Yandong's days were not peaceful. He would often meet Xiao Yan. Although the two of them were not on good terms when they met, for some reason, they were meeting more and more often. Under the system's notification, Tang Gua found out that Xiao Yan was also playing games. She even became Jiang Yandong's private rival. Of course, Jiang Yandong did not know that the person who was good at playing games was Xiao Yan. They were in the same team in the same game. Jiang Yandong used a Smurf account and often played in friendly matches. Chapter 1980. In the beginning, the two of them each took a side in the fanbase match. When they fought, Xiao Yan was slightly weaker than Jiang Yandong. Later on, when they formed a team, the two of them cooperated very well. During that match, all the people in Jiang Yandong's club watched. When the coach saw Xiao Yan's performance, he thought of recruiting her to the club. Because all these years, although Jiang Yandong was indeed good, he had never had a teammate who could cooperate well with him. And Xiao Yan's performance now made him think. In less than 2 days, Tang Guo heard that Xiao Yan had joined the club. Of course, when she appeared, Jiang Yandong was indeed shocked. He did not expect that this girl, who had been a thief and helped him, would be so good at the game. The two of them were still quarrelsome, but when they were practicing the game, they were surprisingly cooperative and did not bring their personal feelings into the game. But after the training, many people could see that the two of them were not on good terms. Brother Yan Dong is working so hard every day. Should I ask Madam Chen to make some soup and send it to him? The system really wanted to cover its face, if it had one. In the afternoon, Tang Guo sent a video message saying that she wanted to send some soup to Jiang Yandong to nourish his body. The fans left comments saying that they envied Jiang Yandong for having such a gentle fiancé. Tang Guo's appearance in the club was a little strange. Especially now, Jiang Yandong was not the only one who had a special feeling for Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's male supporting characters also had their eyes on her. When Xiao Yan saw Tang Guo, she almost did not dare to make a sound. But she couldn't just keep quiet. The moment she spoke, Tang Guo recognized her. Miss Xiao. Xiao Yan smiled awkwardly. It's me. So it's really you. Why are you here? Tang Guo did not mean any harm. She was just curious. When Yun Yang, who was concerned about Xiao Yan, walked to her side and explained, Xiao Yan is also a member of the team now. She is very outstanding. If there are no other problems, it won't be long before she plays. All of them were looking forward to seeing Xiao Yan and Jiang Yandong working together. What kind of visual feast would it be? Really? That's great. Tang Guo said happily. Then, under everyone's incredulous gazes, she pulled out her phone, identified the direction of Xiao Yan's voice, and walked up to her. I must remember this happy day and share it with my fans. The fans all knew that a female member had joined the team. However, they did not expect that Tang Guo would ask this female member to take a video. Xiao Yan could not refuse and could only go on camera with Tang Guo. This is Miss Xiao. Last time, it was all thanks to her that Brother Yan Dong was able to avoid the chilly water. I just heard that Miss Xiao plays the game very well and is also a member of the team. Soon, she might play. I'm really looking forward to it. System, this woman, he would be a fool to believe her. Tang Guo was satisfied. She happily took the blind guiding stick and left, leaving behind a group of people with strange expressions and Xiao Yan, who did not know what to say. That night, Tang Guo did not sleep. She sat in the quiet room and listened to the system report the situation to her. Yes, Tongzi, I believe in you. You must protect our night luminescent pearl. Chapter 1981. There were only a few days left before the exhibition of the night luminescent pearl. Because this was the biggest night luminescent pearl, it had already attracted the attention of all parties. Currently, many people in the city were waiting for the day when the night luminescent pearl would be exhibited. For the exhibition of this night luminescent pearl, the biggest exhibition hall in the city would be opened at night. Because under the lights at night, among the countless jewels, people could clearly see how brilliant and unique this night luminescent pearl was. Using countless jewels to store a night luminescent pearl was also unprecedented. Regardless of whether it was the citizens of the city or those from other cities who came because of its reputation, they were all looking forward to this day. This night luminescent pearl was transported with all kinds of camouflage methods to prevent it from being stolen. After all, this was a special world with martial arts. Even if there were perfect defenses, it would still be easy for it to be stolen. Xiao Yan's grandfather used many days to finally determine the real location of the night luminescent pearl. Today, he planned to go and take the night luminescent pearl away. For this, he prepared a lot of things. He even rehearsed it in his head several times. After confirming that there were no loopholes, he secretly went to the place where the night luminescent pearl was stored. Normal defenses could not do anything to him. In addition, there were people who were working with him from the inside and outside, so he understood the situation inside. Breaking through the first few layers of defenses was a piece of cake. Tanggua sat on the sofa in the room with her eyes closed, watching a dark figure jumping up and down in a certain place, constantly avoiding the infrared rays. His figure was strange, and even the camera might not be able to capture it. Compared to Xiao Yan, the older the ginger, the wiser. However, under the surveillance of the system, was it useful? When Xiao Yan's grandfather walked to the front of the night luminescent pearl and looked at the box, his eyes could not help but reveal a hint of joy. Of course, he did not directly go over to touch it, because this was the most dangerous place. If he reached over directly, the laser line might cut off his hands in an instant. This was not a joke. He had to first destroy the system here, avoid the laser line, and quickly take the night luminescent pearl away. When he came here earlier, the spy had already turned off the cameras. Therefore, even if those people realized that something was wrong, they would not be able to see the situation clearly. In that case, he needed to destroy all the defenses within a minute, take the night luminescent pearl, and escape. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. He had already seen the laser cutting line disappear. He quickly reached for the luminous pearl. However, all the alarms suddenly went off. At the same time, he felt some kind of danger and quickly retracted his hand. However, he still felt a sharp pain coming from his hand. When he looked down, he realized that his hand was injured. A layer of skin had been scraped off the back of his hand. At the same time, the surrounding lights all lit up and focused on him. The place where the night luminescent pearls were stored had also activated the highest level of emergency defense. The surroundings were filled with terrifying lasers, and he had no way of getting there. No, it should be said that the room where the night luminescent pearls were stored was filled with terrifying lasers that could take a person's life. As long as he took a small step, he had no doubt that his leg would be cut off. He had been a godly thief all his life and came from a family of godly thieves. This was the first time the old man had encountered such a scene. The system was happily controlling everything on the other side, surrounding Xiao Yan's grandfather in the middle. Chapter 1982. As long as the other party didn't want to die, he couldn't move. Such a big commotion quickly alerted the caretakers. Xiao Yan's grandfather also didn't expect that he would be caught for stealing a night luminescent pearl. What was more terrifying was that when those people walked up, the laser lines would automatically open up a path. When they walked up to him, they didn't even see him and directly pricked his arm with a needle. When he felt his body go numb and couldn't use any strength, he realized that things were really bad. Previously, he was still thinking about whether he should take advantage of those people to catch him and escape. How did these people become so smart? Without saying a word, they pricked him with a needle and didn't give him any time to react. Thinking about the past, even if the entire city's police force was mobilized, they wouldn't be able to catch him. He turned around and looked at the night luminescent pearl's position, feeling very indignant. Nowadays, technology was developing too quickly. He didn't lose to these people, he was defeated by technology. There really are people who stole the night luminescent pearl. Luckily, that big boss is willing to help us. Yeah, we didn't believe it at first. Luckily, that big boss is very capable. Through a computer, he made our boss believe in his ability. You guys haven't seen the situation inside. That thief is trapped in the laser lines with a helpless expression. He can't even move. Ha ha ha, we've been guarding behind the surveillance cameras. The big boss even told us that there's a spy among us. I didn't expect it to be true. One of the security guards was holding a person who was wearing the same clothes as them. He slapped the back of the young man's head. You brat, you didn't expect the big boss to be so powerful, right? If it wasn't for the big boss's reminder, we really would have fallen into your trap. I didn't expect you to be a spy. The system watched all of this silently. Even if someone was calling him and contacting the temporary account he used previously, he ignored it. Tongzi, the big boss they're talking about is you? The system chuckled. It's me. When I was controlling their defense program, I realized that there were too many loopholes and it wasn't precise enough. It's fine to deal with ordinary thieves, but for a thief like the Shao group, those things won't work at all. So, I disguised myself and contacted the boss of the security guards. At the same time, I showed my skills and reprogrammed them. Did you see those terrifying laser beams from before? No matter how capable he was still made of flesh and blood. In the dense laser beams, whatever he stretched out his hand would be cut off. Sure enough, that old man is still afraid of death. He doesn't even dare to move. Tanguo couldn't help but laugh. Then, were you the one who suggested giving the thieves anesthetics? That's right, such a powerful thief. I told them that the thief might use their people as hostages to escape. Why don't you prick him with an anesthetic needle when he's not paying attention at the beginning? By the time he realizes what's going on, he'll have no choice but to accept his punishment obediently. Tanguo praised, Tongzi, you're getting smarter with age. I learned all of this from Great Host. Oh right, Great Host, I've also collected a lot of evidence of this thief's previous crimes. I've sorted out the places where he hid his stolen goods and the evidence he left behind after his transactions. Currently, it had already been sent to many people's mailboxes. He probably won't be able to come out. Tanguo, her little Tongzi has turned bad. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.